Member Week is here at Lowe's. Don't miss your chance to get up to 40% off hundreds of items like paint, tools, home essentials, and more. Shop our exclusive deals happening in-store and online now through July 18th. Not a rewards member? Join for free today and get ready to save more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
A well-dressed man dies on an Australian beach in 1948. He has no ID, no wallet, and all the labels are cut out of his clothes. In his pocket, a scrap of paper with 2 words that would launch one of the most baffling mysteries in history. Police find a secret code that nobody can crack, a nurse who won't talk, and a book that shouldn't exist. It took 74 years and cutting-edge DNA technology to figure out who he was. But knowing his name only made the mystery deeper. December 1st, 1948 starts out like any other summer day in Adelaide, Australia. People are heading to Somerton Beach for some sun, maybe a swim. Probably dodging snakes, spiders, and sharks. Because Australia. Normal Tuesday morning stuff. And then someone finds a dead guy. Now, finding a dead body on the beach sounds like it should be pretty straightforward, right? Person dies, police figure out who they are, call the family, case closed. But this particular dead guy apparently never got that memo. The man looked impeccably dressed, lying on his back with his head propped up against the seawall. He looked like he'd fallen asleep reading a book. Except there was no book, and no identification, and someone had carefully cut every single clothing label out of his expensive suit. The police do their usual thing. They take fingerprints, check dental records, put out the call for missing persons. They find a few items in his pockets: a train ticket, a bus ticket, some chewing gum, and cigarettes. No wallet, no money, no ID. The clothing was high quality, American-made, which was pretty unusual in post-war Australia when American imports were hard to come by. The autopsy revealed something even more perplexing. The man appeared to be in good health. No obvious injuries, no clear cause of death. The pathologist suspected poisoning, possibly digitalis. But the testing methods in 1948 weren't great. One thing was certain, though. This wasn't some random beach accident. The media dubbed him the Unknown Man, and the public became fascinated. He was this well-dressed mystery man who appeared from out of nowhere and died right there on their beach. People started coming forward with theories, but of course none of them led anywhere. The case was getting cold fast. And then, several months later, something extraordinary happened. A man came forward saying he'd found a book in the back seat of his unlocked car near Somerton Beach. The book was a copy of the Rubaiyat, which is this collection of Persian poetry. Not exactly beach reading material. But here's where it gets weird. The police examined the book and found that a page had been torn out. The missing page contained the words Tamam Shud. And I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but it means finished or ended in Persian. And when they checked the dead man's pockets again, they found a small piece of paper with those exact words printed on it. The paper matched the book perfectly. So we've got a dead man with a mysterious scrap of paper, a book with a matching torn page found in a random car. The odds of this being a coincidence are astronomical. But wait, there's more. On the back of the book, someone had written in pencil what appeared to be a code, 5 lines of seemingly random letters. MRGOARABD, and it goes on from there. I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of random letters. You can check the 10-Minute Mystery socials, and I'll show it to you. But the police brought in cryptographers, military intelligence, even amateur code breakers. Nobody could crack it. They also found a phone number penciled in the book. The number belonged to a local nurse named Jessica Thompson. When the police contacted her, she claimed she'd never seen the book before and did not know the dead man. But witnesses said she'd seemed visibly shaken by the whole thing. And here's where the story gets really interesting. Jessica admitted she'd owned a copy of the same rare edition of the Rubaiyat and had given it to someone during the war. That someone was a man named Alfred Boxall, who she'd had a relationship with. The police tracked down Boxall, and he was alive and well and still had his own copy of the book. So Jessica gave away a book during the war, and somehow a different copy of the same book ended up connected to a dead man found on a beach. The coincidence felt too big to ignore, but Jessica maintained she knew nothing about it. The theories started flying. Was the dead man a spy? The timing was right for Cold War intrigue, but the circumstances certainly seemed cloak and dagger. The expensive American clothing, the mysterious code, the careful removal of all identifying marks, it had all the hallmarks of espionage work. Others thought it was a suicide. Maybe the man had deliberately obscured his identity and chosen those words that I can't pronounce, Tamim Shud, as his final statement. The peaceful way he was found, the lack of struggle, it could support that suicide theory. Then there was the love triangle. Jessica Thompson clearly knew more than she was saying. Some people theorized that the dead man was a former lover, maybe someone she had had an affair with. Her son Robin was born around the time of the death, and some people noted he bore a resemblance to the dead body on the beach. For decades, the case remained unsolved. Jessica Thompson passed away in 2007, taking whatever secrets she had to her grave. Her son Robin later claimed that she'd made some deathbed admissions about knowing the dead man, but the details were vague and unverifiable. The case might have stayed cold forever if it were not for Professor Derek Abbott, who became obsessed with solving it in 2009. Abbott is the kind of person who doesn't give up easily. He spent years trying to get permission to exhume the body for DNA testing, fighting legal battles and bureaucratic red tape. Finally, in 2022, advanced DNA technology made it possible to extract genetic material from hair samples that had been preserved in a plaster cast of the victim's head. The results were remarkable. Through genetic genealogy, researchers were able to identify the man as Carl Charles Webb, an electrical engineer born in Melbourne in 1905. Webb had worked on precision instruments and had disappeared from records around 1947-1948. His physical characteristics matched the body found on Somerton Beach. The identification seemed to solve the mystery, but it actually raised new questions. Why was Webb in Adelaide? How did he end up dead on a beach? And what was his connection to Jessica Thompson and that book? Researchers are still trying to piece together Webb's final months. They're looking for connections between Webb and the Thompson family, trying to understand how a Melbourne engineer ended up on a beach in Adelaide with a coded message in his pocket. The 5 lines of letters remain undeciphered. Some experts think they might be abbreviations for locations or names. Others believe they could be random letters meant to throw off investigators, which would be a pretty good joke. There's even a theory that they're meaningless, a red herring left by someone who wanted to make the death look more mysterious than it was. The cause of death remains officially unknown. The poisoning theory was never proven, though it remains plausible. Modern forensic science might be able to provide answers, but Webb's remains were buried so long ago that getting permission for further testing would be next to impossible. The case has inspired countless books, documentaries, and, of course, internet discussions. Amateur sleuths around the world have spent years trying to crack the code or uncover new evidence. Somerton Beach became a pilgrimage site for mystery enthusiasts. What makes this case so enduring is how it combines the solved and unsolved elements. We know who Charles Webb was, but we don't know why he died or how he ended up on that beach. We have the mysterious code, but we can't read it. We know Jessica Thompson was connected to the case, but we don't know exactly how. The human element makes it compelling too. These were real people whose lives were forever changed by this mystery. Jessica Thompson lived for decades knowing she held pieces of the puzzle but never revealed them. Her family was thrust into the spotlight and had to live with the speculation and theories. If Webb was murdered, no one was ever held accountable. If he committed suicide, his reasons died with him. The truth about what happened on Somerton Beach that December morning remains elusive, even after identifying the victim. The Somerton Man case proves that even in our connected world, people can disappear without a trace. Charles Webb's identity may be solved, but the mystery of his death ensures that the story will continue to captivate us for generations to come. Thanks for listening to 10 Minute Mystery. I'm Joe, the host, And do me a huge favor. If you've been listening to this podcast for a little while and you enjoy it, share it with your friends and your family. Let them know that the podcast exists. Also, if you enjoy it, rate and review the podcast wherever that's possible. Now, if this is your first time listening, welcome in. Please hit subscribe wherever you're listening and also follow along on social media. If you like the podcast, but you're into some darker stuff as well, you can check out my other one. It's called 10-Minute Murder. It's available everywhere that this one is. Again, thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.